So please do just let me know if you have any requests for practice. I have the usual props nearby, blocks, a blanket, a yoga strap. Hi, welcome, Gail. Let me know if you have any requests for our practice today. Welcome, Naomi. So if anyone has any requests, let me know. I'll get close to the chat so I can see it. Hips. Okay, so let me see if I can see that. Anything specific with the hips? So a lot of times it's the front of the hips, the hip flexor area. Any particular poses that you love, just let me know. So even just a cross-legged seat can start to get into those hips. You might want a wedge, a lift. A lot of times when we come into a cross-legged seat, the knees might be a little elevated. We might be more rounded. I'm super exaggerating it. But that elevation can help to put that inward curve back in the low back. We might want some cushion underneath or just even elevation support underneath the knees. So let's take a few moments to find a seat that will be comfortable for you. And it might be sitting in a chair or on a balance ball. Consider bringing palms face down in the lap. And the eyes may rest softly closed. Take a full deep inhale. Perhaps sighing it out audibly through the mouth. Consider repeating that a time or two. Full deep inhales. Slow, long exhales. We might intuitively find a little bit of movement. It might be a rock, a sway. It could be a forward back movement. It may be a side to side movement. And then we might choose to reach out and find a couple of props and just place them forward of the knees. And we might very intentionally sway, glide, or lean a little more side to side. Now you can stay up higher. We may opt to move our hands a little further forward, starting to tip and lean in. And as we glide to each side, bringing that attention, that awareness into each thigh. Ooh, they may be talking to us, the hips, the low back. We can back it up. We can rise back up. And as we breathe, we can shift a little lower, always listening to your body's cues. So at your own pace, let's roll back up to a seat where our shoulders are over the hips, palms facing forward, perhaps a little movement in toes and fingers. The arms may rise, the gaze may rise. And as we exhale, rotating, twisting to one side, whichever side you go to is fine. We'll do both. And perhaps it feels nice to nod the head, getting into the neck. And remember, we can nod in more than one direction. The chin might move closer to the chest. We may prefer to hold the head still. Let's inhale, rebound to the middle, to center. And as we exhale, rotating, twisting, second side. And again, perhaps the head is gliding, nodding, chin maybe moving towards the chest. The body may sigh. Let's inhale, find our way back to the middle, thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. Rocking back, slide both legs long. Notice which leg you had in front or on top, and we might give a little wiggle to the knees. We may take our fingers underneath the kneecaps and just draw some circles. Palpating, self-massaging around the knees, underneath the kneecaps. Finding those little movements that feel good to you. And then we'll trade the cross the legs. So second leg on top or in front. And we might just tip, lean, wobble, rock the sits bones a bit further back. And perhaps find those props. And we can start with them near the knees. And as we breathe, we can explore that little glide like we did on the other side. Maybe we're more conservative initially because this is our second side. It may be the second side for a reason, checking in. But we might decide to move the hands. It could be prop hands a little further forward. And maybe we're taking it lower. So just a possibility. The brow may come all the way down to the ground or even be resting on another prop. The body may be sighing, the head may be nodding. And let's gradually, slowly rise all the way back up. So as we find the middle, give yourself a moment again to check in and let's reach that left arm up in the air. Go for lift, length, mobilize fingers, and twist a light bulb back and forth like the string has broken off. And in order to turn it on, you need to twist it in one direction and turn it off, twist it in the other direction. So just going back and forth. Curl the fingers and let that arm come down and invite the shoulder to roll. Now the head may move with the shoulder rolls. Let's pause. Second direction. Let the body sigh. And when you feel ready, second side. So reaching up through that second arm, a little movement through the fingers, twisting that light bulb back and forth. And take your time, curl the fingers, bring the arm down, and the shoulder may be rolling. The head might find a little bit of movement as we mobilize the shoulder. And let's go the other way. Circle the shoulder, second direction. Find the middle. Consider weaving hands together, and we may keep hands low, press them forward. We might progressively take the arms higher. We may feel ready to go straight up overhead and let the ribs shift a little right, left, side, side. And perhaps we press up through the heel of one hand, the heel of the other. And then we may bend those elbows and start to draw circles around the head, behind the head. Let's reach those arms back up in the air as we exhale, twisting over to the right. Perhaps the head's nodding, perhaps we're finding stillness. We'll return to center, and as we exhale, rotating, twisting, second side. Let's inhale, find our way back to the middle. Thumbs to the brow, thumbs to the heart. Rock on back, slide the legs forward. Give a little wiggle to the knees. And we might slide back a little further forward still. And it may be plenty right where you are in the back of the legs. We might draw the toes back towards the knees. Now, if your heels come up off the ground when you do that, put them back down. Back that off just a little bit. So some of us have some pretty flexible knees. Try to keep the heels down for now. We might wobble rock the fingers back as we reach those heels forward and wrap back from the little toe sides of the feet. Toes fanning, toes spreading. Let the body sigh. And let's take left hand. Let that left hand, could be on a prop, slide out to the left. And the right arm may rise, tip leaning. We might bend the elbow, extend the arm. You can bend and extend. You could choose a position to hold because one might feel just right today. We might return to the twisting the light bulb motion with the wrist and bring flourishes, movement into the fingers. Let's rise back up, give ourselves a little wobble, perhaps more active through the feet, through the legs, and then that right hand's moving out to the right. Top arm moving up and overhead, finding that side bend. Chin perhaps to the right. We might bend and extend the elbows. You're listening to your body. We might circle or twist the light bulb, mobilize fingers, and rise all the way up. Possibly walking the fingers a little further forward. You could have your hands on props. You could have your forehead on a prop. And slowly rise all the way back up. I'm going to turn sideways to you. You might want something soft to sit on. Maybe you're fine. If you've got a carpet underneath your mat, you might have plenty of cush already. So let's bring both hands behind the back. We'll see which cat bashes that door into my head next. And then we'll let both knees drop over to one side. So turn the belly button. We might have that right hand down. Breathing around the twist. Maybe you had a big lunch, so you can always back it off, take it slow. We'll come back to center. Let the knees move to the second side. So just listen to what feels right for you. Weight in that left hand. Perhaps we're getting very active through the left fingerprint, so we don't have too much pressure in the wrist. We'll find our way back to the middle. Now, as we move back over to the right, take your time. We don't have to hurry to change the depth of the pose. This might be the perfect version for now. If you start to feel like you want to extend that left arm, go for it. It could be forward, it might be overhead. But notice, do we have a lot of sinking through the ribs? Valid variation. Maybe that feels really good, but perhaps we press down into the hand, lift up, finding a little more core engagement through the abdomen, through the torso. Let's move back to center. We might need to slide the hips to one side. That might just be about finding space over to the left. And again, check in with that right shoulder. Maybe we're extending the arm. We might keep the hand low or overhead. What's happening with the left ribs? Are we hammocking, sinking? Maybe we love it, and that's the variation for now. Whoop. We might lift up with or without the sound effects. And let's find our way back to the middle. Scoot the hips forward and consider dropping down on the back body and bringing both knees into the chest. So we might be an ankle crosser, one ankle over the other. Notice if that's you. The ankles may not be crossed. Give yourself these little rocks side to side, feeling into the hips, the low back. We may draw circles. And if you're an ankle crosser, take a moment and reverse. So second ankle on top. Find rocks, find circles. Consider grabbing one wrist, encircling it with the opposite hand, landing the forearms on the ground overhead. Hello, shoulders, upper arms. Let's release the feet down to the ground. Lift, bend, spread the toes. Let the toes land as we breathe. We may slide the elbows away from one another. Soften that, switch your wrist. So you're just switching the grip. Slide the elbows wide, tilt the tailbone down. Soften. Full belly breath. Let's step or inchworm the right foot a little further forward. Rock the left thigh into the chest. We may weave the fingers around that left leg. We may slide right leg long across the ground. Watch out you're not knocking your water bottle over. Give a little rock, jostle through that left leg. Full breathing into belly. Trading sides, slide right leg in, left foot to the ground. We might slide that left foot forward, press out through the heel. Find that little jostle, that little rock. Notice the belly rise and release. Let's pull the left knee back in, feet separated, knees wide. We may slide the hands down closer to the ankles. So just split the difference wherever it works for you. So we might find a little rock side to side, getting into those inner thighs. Let's land the feet on the ground and go the other way. Feet wide, knees tipping in, tailbone tilting down. Let the body sigh whenever needed. Heel, toe, feet in, soles of the feet together, knees dropping out wide to the side. And then on the little toe sides of the feet, go ahead and heel toe, feet wide until you feel ready to come back to about hips distance. Let's rock that right leg in, dust off the foot as needed. Let the leg rise. Flex and point, flex and point, finding all that fun stuff at the back of the leg. Twirl the ankle around, go the other way. Let's bend that right knee and try reaching that right leg out to the side. Bend the knee again, bring the knee to the middle, up towards the ceiling. So we're keeping the ankle in that dorsiflex position, pressing up through the heel, pulling the toes down, bend the knee down, and then reach the leg out to the side. Let yourself tilt so that left knee tilts in towards midline. Rebend right knee. Take that leg up in the air. Now we'll add a little piece to it. Bend the knee, turn the knee out, and start to press the foot over to the left. Rebend, and let's go back to the left. Press it back and over to the left. So this time as we come back, we might land that right ankle on top of the left thigh, and perhaps we rock both hips, drawing those right toes back towards right knee. And maybe we're moving a little further to the left. Just check in. How does this feel through that right outer hip, low back, outer thigh? You don't have to take it super far left to have big sensation. Sometimes, some of us do. So we might be going back and forth. So if we need even more sensation, maybe we rock that right foot all the way to the ground, all the way over to the left. If we want even more, we take the left hand and we grab that right ankle, and perhaps we're sliding that right heel up closer to the left hip. So just a possibility. Some of us might have big sensation with the leg up in the air. So we may be expanding or opening right arm out to the right or even overhead. Feel free to keep bend and elbow. Finding that fullness of breath. So if it's really intense, we might not even notice that we're limiting the breath a little bit. So let's start to rock back up towards the middle and re-extend that right leg up in the air. Go ahead, rebend the knee, and let's send that leg back over to the right with that left leg tipping in. Just notice how that feels in the front of the left thigh. Rebend. Let's land the foot, starting to rock that left thigh into the chest. Feel free to dust off the foot. Raise the leg. Push up through the heel. And that's usually the real fun stuff, point up through the toe. But sometimes we get it across the top of the foot too. So we're going back and forth. Feel free to twirl the ankle. Press up, find those rocks. We might just stay on the sacrum for a moment, but then bend the knee. Let that knee bend down. Don't worry about grabbing it with your hands. And maybe you feel like this first time you just want to reach it straight back up. Rebend and extend the leg over to the left somewhere. Rebend. Reach that leg back up in the air, pushing up through the heel. Rebend. Let's take it back out to the left. And maybe that right knee is tipping more right. So we may be getting really light on the little toe side of the foot. Start to move back to the middle. Let that leg reach up. And this time, let that leg start to tip, tip, tip over, head on over towards that right. So left leg's heading towards the right. Bend that knee, pull it down, reach it over towards the right. Let's bend, draw it down. Feel free to reach it back up in the air, but eventually let's land on top of the right thigh. And maybe we're finding a little rock. And again, it could just be very subtle little rock. We don't have to move all the way to the floor to the right, but we might be getting closer. Maybe each time we come down. We may go ahead and grab the ankle, and perhaps we're reaching forward, pressing that left knee away from the chest. Maybe the left arm is overhead. And let's slowly rock it back to center. When you are ready, reach that leg up in the air, rebend the knee, and let's again reach the leg over to the left. And perhaps we're tipping that inner right knee even closer to the ground. You're listening to your body. There's just more weight on the big toe side of the foot. And then gradually, slowly, we'll bring it back up to center. Maybe one more time, extend the leg. Maybe you're ready to drop the foot, take the feet wide, knees together. Consider hooking the thumbs and taking both arms overhead. Palms face up, let the fingers mobilize. Lengthen left hip away from left shoulder. Slide right hip away from right shoulder. And then just find that little glide side to side. Maybe we're noticing we have more sensation on one side. Let's rock both knees in. Start to roll to the right. Now we'll come off our mat as we extend the legs. So feel free to adjust yourself back onto the mat. We'll make our way onto the belly, onto the elbows, into a sphinx. So we may find a little glide, right to left. Side to side. Hello, front body. Let's tip a little to the right and start to bend that left knee. So left toes may point up and we might find a little motion through the leg. It can just be back and forth. Maybe we draw circles or tip the leg out and in. Releasing, find a glide until you feel ready to land, tipping, side bending over to the left. We may be bending right knee. Find a little motion. Maybe a little sway side to side or a circle. How does that feel in the front of the hip, front body? Let's land, come down to the ground now. If it's not comfortable for the neck to rest on a cheek. Doesn't matter which cheek, just a cheek, we'll do both. Put a little cushion, a little elevation under the head. Palms face up. Shoulders draped to the floor. Let the eyes rest. We may give the hips a little wobble rock. We may cluster the fingers together, flex the wrist, draw the clustered fingers towards the forearms, and release. Take a moment, turn the head in the second direction. Perhaps very gently stretch the jaw. Let's slide the hands forward, plant the palms to the ground, rolling up into a cobra. You're welcome to keep as much bend in the elbows as you like. Pressing back into a child's pose. So the forehead might come to the floor. Maybe it comes to a prop. The arms could be fully extended. We may even tent fingers. Let the body breathe, getting into the shoulders. Let's slide the hands halfway in, press into the palms, hug the belly muscles in, rounding up into a cat pose. Now we may find a little shift side to side. And then make sure you have enough room behind your back. So I'm going to move a little forward on my mat. And please put cushion under your knees if you like. So let's tuck the right toes and press back through that right heel. Curl the chin into the chest. The head may nod. The head may glide. We may start to hover that left shin, left knee. Let that knee come down to the ground. Right knee down, send left foot back. Maybe fingertips are pointing out towards the long edges of the mat. You can certainly keep the right shin down, but maybe it rises. We may glide that leg. And perhaps this time we land the right toes and start to pedal step into a dog. We may walk our feet wider. So wide dog, hipping heels side to side. We may land both heels. Hinge at the ankles, hinge at the knees, tip the sits bones back and high, perhaps swaying, leaning the hips a little side to side. Now let's take our time to return to the knees. We'll get off those wrists, and this might be a great time if you haven't cushioned your knees to give yourself a little bit of knee padding. You might even want to sit on a block, so heels, hips dropping towards heels is just a little too low. Feel free to come up higher, and we'll just get off those wrists for a moment. Self-massaging wrists, choose one, a forearm, Trading to second side. And perhaps we spin the palms to face up and press forward with the heels of the hands, and we might cluster, flex, repeat, circle, and consider bearing a little more weight back on the hands as we return to hands and knees. Feel free to have your hands on blocks. So it might be that we reach that right leg back, pitch back through the heel, let the leg rise, draw the knee in towards the nose, round the back. Inhale, extend, and then pull the knee towards that same side shoulder and reach the leg back. Draw the knee towards the nose. Inhale, extend. Let's bring the knee towards the shoulder, but this time land the foot. So again, this could be a great place to put hands on blocks. So we're landing that foot wide. We might heel toe it a little wider. Start to find that lateral lunge out to the right. And we'll move back in. We might slide or heel toe that right foot more right, trying to turn the big toe in. And perhaps we heel toe that foot in just a bit or slide it in to take it back over to the right. And then as we rise out, heel toe the foot in. Maybe we spin those blocks up a little higher still and bring the shoulders up over the hips. So stay really mindful of that down knee. Press that left hip, left thigh forward. We might put right hand, right thigh, right forearm, right thigh. We may sweep that top arm up alongside the ear, bringing some movement back into the finger. All the fingers. We might take the hand to the back of the head, roll the elbow back. Perhaps we lunge deeper to the right. Use that to rise on up. We might find a block or two blocks. So you might have your low block, not on your leg on the floor, but your bottom block on the lowest setting, and it's just more steady, more secure. And the other block might be on its tall setting. And you might place that heading towards your foot. Doesn't have to go all the way there, but it might be getting a little closer to the foot. Maybe we're sliding all the way back towards the heel. So we may take that left arm up in the air and bring the hand behind the head, tipping back, leaning back. Now that might be a big sensation in the front of that left leg. We can choose to take that left hand down to the block. Take it lower if you like, so 2 blocks is too high, 1 block. We may take that right arm up in the air, maybe hand behind the head to support the neck. Maybe we just keep the arm high because it feels good. We may rise up, perhaps take a block with us, maybe 2. And let's bring the block out to the left. So straight out to the left this time. So that right arm is rising. And we may be bringing the right fingers over to the left. Let's slowly rise up. Now we may take a block, maybe 2 blocks with us if we've got them. Heel toe, scooch that right foot forward, sinking into our lunge. Maybe we tuck the left toes, ratchet that left knee a little further back. You can keep the left foot tucked or pointed, whichever your knee prefers. Maybe we're even finding a little shift side to side if that works for your body. Let's start to rise back up, heel toe, right foot in towards midline. Scooch the foot a bit further forward and we might rock back on the heel, rolling right hip back, folding in. We may slide that right heel back, lunge back into the front knee, move right hand block inside right foot, heel toe, right foot wide, practitioner's choice. Keep going with the heel toe. Maybe we just slide, lift that right leg back and land the knee. Dropping back into a child's pose. Perhaps the brow is supported. It may be supported by the ground. Fingertips forward. Heart may rise, walking the hands over to the right. Lift the ribs up and over right thigh. We may be pinning left hand down. We may be leaning left ribs a little more left. Let's come back to the middle. Plant the hands rounding up into cat pose. Take it into cow. Find neutral. Now I'm going to spin around for the other side. You are welcome to stay where you are. And that's just so you can see what's going on with that second leg. So left leg, we could have hands on the ground or the blocks. We're sending it back. And maybe it just feels nice to pitch back again through the heel. So the leg may rise, draw the knee towards the nose, back runs. Extend the leg, take the knee towards the left elbow, left arm, reach it back, knee to nose, extend, bring knee towards shoulder, and we may step, land the foot. Maybe this is where we grab the blocks now, so we have a little more room to find that lateral lunge over to the left. As we find our way back to the middle, you could slide or heel toe, left foot more left, turning big toe in towards that inner right knee. And if, like me, you tend to drop into the back bend, the cow pose position, boop, notice that. Try to rise up, lift up out of it. And we might again revisit the lunge. And we'll start to find our way back up. So shoulders moving up and over hips. Take your time. Reposition any cushioning you need under that right shin, right knee. And we may be placing left hand on the thigh, just tipping in, maybe forearm to the thigh. Maybe we're reaching right arm up in the air or over towards the left. And we'll start to rise back up and we'll think about coming into that camel variation. So maybe we're going to stack some blocks, preparing just in case we want to stay up a little bit higher on that side. So we could keep our hand at our hip, the shoulder, the head, and tip it back. We might take the arm high first, or just reach back with the hand. You're figuring out the height that will work for you on this side. And maybe the left hand is supporting the neck, supporting the head. Consider taking a prop with you as you rise up so that we can bring the hand out to the right now, or the prop out to the right. The left arm may rise and come over to the right. Maybe you're dropping it down a little lower. And we might sink out to the left to help us rise up. And perhaps we're heel toeing, or stepping. We might want to grab a couple of blocks. We left them behind ourselves. So we're moving into that lunge position. We may tuck the back toes, ratchet the knee a little further back, looking for the depth of lunge that feels right for you. Maybe there's a little shift side to side. Let's slide the hips back. We may be heel toeing the foot in, scooching the foot a bit further forward, or if you're on a slippery surface, sliding the foot forward, move back on the heel. I'm starting to slide that foot back in. So how would you like to bring the leg back? Maybe we're heel toeing all the way back. Maybe we're lifting, dropping back into that child's pose. We might take it wide, grab the ground. And as you feel ready, let's tuck toes, lifting hips, bringing our way back into down face dog. Let's slide the left foot closer to the right. Let that right leg rise. Draw the knee to the nose, back is rounding. Inhale, extend. Take that right knee towards right elbow. Inhale, extend. Knee to nose. Extending. Knee to the elbow, and we're sliding forward, closer to a plank. So as we rise back up, step, navigate that right foot forward. Option always to put the knee down, but you could keep it up. Left hand wide to the left. Cycling right arm up in the air. Find that twist, find your rotation. Cycle the right hand down to the ground. Tap, navigate left foot in. Slide the right foot back as needed. Fan all of the toes. So finding a straighter leg position, possibly just with the front leg, maybe both. And let's lunge bend back into that right knee. Let the left leg rise. Left leg reaches up in the air. Take the knee wide towards the shoulder and then float the left foot down alongside the right, tipping and standing forward bend. Stretch the jaw. You may flutter the lips or just gently nod the head, releasing any tension. At your own rhythm, bend the knees, forearms to thighs, sink the hips lower. The arms may rise. Come all the way up. Thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. Cycle the arms high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, heart rising. Let's walk on back into dog. Roll on forward towards our high plank and consider placing left forearm, right forearm on the ground. We may hover in our forearm plank. We may land the knees, point the feet, walk the elbows forward, find your Sphinx. Coming all the way down to the ground, slide the hands back, heart rises. Press the hips towards the heels, tuck the toes, hips rising, down dog. Left foot closer to the right, or the other way around. So left leg rises, left knee in towards the nose, back rounding. Inhale, extend. Left knee towards its elbow, shifting towards a plank. Take it back and high. Knee to nose. Reach it up. Knee towards elbow. Shift it in. Give yourself a little lift. Navigate that left foot forward. You can inchworm. You can help place the foot further forward. We'll take that right hand wide. Left arm rising. So twisting, open towards the left. Let the hips rise as we cycle the hand down. Tap, tap the right foot in as much as needed. Working that left leg closer to straight. We may want to go back and forth. We may want hands on blocks. We may slide that left foot back, shift the weight into the left leg. Let that right leg rise. Bend the right knee out towards the shoulder and slowly, slowly land right foot down to the ground. We may give the head a little nod. Tip the hips to one side, perhaps supporting weight in that hand or block. Tip the hips to the second side, find the middle. Put a little bit of bend in the knees, forearms to thighs, hips are sinking. Take your time, rising all the way back to stand. Thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. Wherever you landed on your mat, let's step out so that the feet are wide. Right toes, I'm going to mirror. Turn right toes towards the short edge of the mat, lunging into that front knee. Re-extend, fan toes. Lunge, bend, forearm to thigh. Consider finding a block. We may place the hand to the little toe side of the foot, work that leg closer to straight, and let that top arm rise. Toes fanning wide. We may take that top arm up and overhead. We may bend into the front knee. We may pick the block up, maybe just the hand. Reach the arms forward. We extend the leg. We'll rise back up to stand, pivot the footing. Second foot pivots out. Bend the knee. Extend when you feel ready. We may bend and land. We may land the block and extend the leg. We may raise top arm up in the air. We may prefer to take it up and overhead. Let's bend the knee, raise the block. We may hold the block, extend that block long. Perhaps bend the knee, rise back up to the middle. Pivot toes in, heel toe feet in just a little bit. As we lower the hands, bending into the knees, hinge at the hips. Let the hands come down to the ground. Hands may be on blocks. Hands might be on the actual floor. Hips may shift a little side to side. Let's gradually walk those hands forward, rising halfway up. Heel, toe, toe, heel, feet all the way together. Put bend in the knees, and let's rise up to stand. Navigating towards a short edge of the mat, go ahead and drop your blocks, maybe on their tallest setting. Keep right foot forward, step left leg back. Lunging into that front knee, maybe we wiggle that back leg a bit further back. Let the arms rise, find a warrior one position. Bend the elbows, hands to the hips, elbows roll back. We may bind the hands, roll the shoulders back. We may extend the arms, and perhaps we tip forward, taking bound arms overhead. We may rebend the elbows, bring the hands down to the blocks, revisit, extending that right leg closer to straight, roll that right hip back. We may reposition the left hand inside right big toe, maybe in front of right big toe. Put a little bend in the right knee, right hand, right hip. Feel free to spin your down block taller as we twist to the right, working right leg back towards straight. So that top arm, right arm may rise. Perhaps we cycle that top arm overhead as we rebend the knee. Feel free to find the blocks. Take your time, no rush, no hurry. Lift that back leg, left leg up in the air. Hands wider as you like. Bending left knee out to the left. Pull the left knee in alongside right. Land the left foot. Rock back on the heels. Turn the toes out. Let the heels rise. Move them down into a squat. Feel free to sit on one or even two of your blocks. Feet might move a little further forward. Let the body sigh. Stay connected with the breath. If you feel like, hey, you're in a squat and you really want to take advantage of the opportunity for an arm balance, please feel free. If that just sounds like not something that's on the menu, feel free to stay in your squat. So we might bring hands down to the ground, peel the heels up, shift weight. You may lift the feet off the floor, just possibilities. So we may rise back up, find our way to stand, thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart, pivot toes in. Now, if you left blocks behind you like I did, maybe we just adjust them forward. Feel free if you're already in a forward bend, just to navigate that right leg back. So we're just setting up for that second side when you are ready. So hands to hips. The arms may rise, warrior one. We may bring hands to hips, roll the shoulders back. If we're weaving the fingers together, think about swapping the cross of the thumbs. And if you're not sure, it usually feels peculiar. We might find that forward bend, taking bound arms up and overhead. Try to stay rooted through right heel. We bend the elbows. Let the hands come down. Find the blocks. And we may just take a moment to again say hello to that left leg. Rebending, right hand block. Maybe it's inside the big toe, in front of, maybe you know you're going to want it a little bit higher or further forward, or even wider to the right. Left hand to the hip. Extend that left leg. Twisting to the left, top arm may rise. Rebending top elbow. Rebending front knee. Feel free to take the hands down. Find the blocks. Shift weight forward. Let that right leg rise. Maybe we have fingertips on the ground. Bending right knee out to the right. Pull the knee towards the shoulder. Draw the knee in. Drop the foot. Rock back on the heels. Toes out. Heels peel up. Sinking down into your squat. Again, stack as many blocks as you like. Make it as easeful as you like. Make it as challenging as you like. If you want to rock forward into an arm balance, go for it. If you want to pretend arm balance, no load in the wrist, hug those legs onto the arms, palms forward. Get a little grip, imaginary grip with your fingerprints. Shoulders stay on the back. Letting go of the efforting. Consider rooting down through the feet and rising up from our squat. Watch out for any blocks, thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. Let's set ourselves up for a one-legged balance. use a wall for any support that you like. So let's again invite that right leg up in the air. We might give the knee a boost. We might scoop under the thigh and reach the leg long. We may bend the knee, start to turn the knee out, bend that left knee and bring that right ankle on top of left thigh. We may sit a little lower, hold the knee, hold the foot. Pretend you're sitting on a stool, maybe you go a little lower. Find a spot, maybe something on the floor to focus on that won't move. Not me, I will definitely lose my balance too. We'll rise back up, re-extend, re-bend, let it go. Second side, fan those right toes, get a nice wide base. When you're ready, left knee rises. We may support around the shin, get a little taller. Okay, remember you could stay here, but maybe we scoop under the thigh and extend the leg, reach that foot forward. Draw the knee back, we may turn it out, bend standing knee, ankle on top of knee. Hands perhaps to foot your knee as we find that seat. You could always have your hands on the wall. Let's rise back up as you feel ready. Re-extend, re-bend, let it go, shift it out. So from the top edge of the mat, perhaps those big toes connect and we sink the hips. Slide the hips back. The arms may rise, tuck the ribs back. Maybe it feels more comfortable to keep bending elbows. Exhale, forward fold. As you feel ready, walking back, down face dog. We may wiggle feet forward, rock on forward to high plank, and this time right forearm first. Last time it was the left, you're just switching. We may hang out in that forearm plank position. Now, if you really want more challenge, you might hover the right leg. You might bring that right knee back towards right elbow, take the leg back. Save enough juice for the second side. Left leg rises, knee to elbow. Bring the leg back. Please feel free to repeat. Feel free to drop the knees and come down to the belly whenever you're ready. Heart rising. We might find that lean over to the right, chin to the right. We may take it back to the middle and slide that right knee out to the right. Now, if we go up too high, too fast, butt cramp. So just find the right spot for you for now. Possibly left toes tuck. Let the knee rise. We might wiggle back through the knee, through the hip. We might keep the toes tucked. We might prefer to point the foot. Elbows could move a little closer. Maybe that knee's creeping up higher. Over towards right knee. So like we're pulling the knee to the elbow, but we're also moving the elbow towards the knee this time too. Now let's back it off a little bit. Consider planting a right hand. Now you might want a couple blocks for this. One could be for your head. One might be over the left for your shoulder. So we may plant the right hand and thread left arm over the right. Palm faces up or down. Just notice which one you're doing for the second side. So grab a block as a pillow if you prefer, and you might make sure you have a tail to the left with that block. So right hand could stay down. We might even want that right foot to move in closer. Right hand to the hip. Maybe we're letting that arm drop back. So you may want a block under that right shoulder to build the floor up. If you have a ponytail, a hair bundle, you may need to move it out of the way so that you can roll towards the back of the head. And if you have more room than I do here, you might even be extending that right arm. It might be coming all the way down to the floor, down to the ground. It's a fairly deep twist though, so just go where it feels right in your body at this moment. So let's slowly start to unwind the twist. We'll extract the arm. When you're ready, sliding right leg back and long. We lift up to the middle. So I'll spin around to do that with you on the other side, but you are welcome to stay exactly where you are. We take a block with me. So when you feel ready, we might just find a little more lean over to the left. Breathing into the floor, into the ground. We might start to slide the knee up a bit. We may tuck those right toes, press back through the heel, maybe a little wobble back through the hip. Maybe repointing the foot, feel free again to keep it tucked. We might walk the elbows closer to the knee. If and when you feel ready, maybe you're sliding the knee closer to the elbows. And you can back it up if it starts to feel like too much pull through those right side ribs. So stick with this variation if you prefer, back it off a little if you prefer. Plant the left hand so that right arm can slide out to the right. Find your pillow prop if you're using one. And we might press down and slide that arm even further. Notice palm up or palm down. We might be taking that left hand to the head, to the shoulder, maybe up in the air. We might want to block underneath the shoulder. Maybe we're fully extending that arm. It might be coming down to the ground. Just possibilities. Remembering there's no hurry. It's a very deep twist. So if you just landed and you'd like to spend a little more time there, please do. So we may be very slowly, very gradually unwinding, sliding the leg back, find our way back to the middle. And we may just rest, palms face up, arms back, head to one side. Breathing against the ground. We may plant the hands, slide the hips back towards the heels, finding that child's pose, getting into the low back. So at your own rhythm, we'll come back up to hands and knees, sliding left knee forward. We may tuck the right toes and wiggle that right foot further back. We may find a couple of props to rest the hands or forearms on. Feel free to come lower, come closer to the ground. We may need to rock a little to the left. Ooh, and then tip back towards the right. So we may just find these little shifts back and forth. We may find a spot where we can land and settle in, perhaps finding a block, letting the forehead be fully supported so we have more ease in the neck. It's also an opportunity to roll tension out of the brow. So we might just find a roll side to side, a nod. We may roll that right hip down a little bit closer to the ground. And let's rock on back. When you feel ready, bend that right knee. Now, the right leg may lift and lower, lift and lower. Again, we're not trying to give ourselves a butt cramp. You could have your hands down. We might be going hands free. We may be lifting that leg and placing the right foot in front of the left. Maybe a little shift forward and a gentle twist over to the right. We may let the arms rise, just practitioner's choice with this. We may bring the hands over to the left, and we might just pivot back around. So we find our way into a dog. Slide that right knee forward, left leg back. Wiggling, feel free to grab those blocks. We left them behind ourselves. And just checking in on this side. What's going to work on this side? Maybe we're pointing the foot. You might tip more to the right initially. We may go back and forth a few times. We may be setting ourselves up so that we have that brow support. Remember that you do not have to go anywhere else. You might choose to stay where you are and come down a little lower. You might decide to tip over to the right, start to bend that left knee, and maybe we're lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Hands could be down. We may be lifting, hovering, placing the foot, finding that gentle twist over to the left, perhaps dropping left seat, hugging that left leg back in towards midline. And we may rock on back this time, bringing the soles of the feet together. We may find these little wobble rocks right to left for bound ankles. We can certainly stay higher up, holding the ankles. If you enjoy the forward bend, again, we could be stacking props so that we can find the forward bend with brow support. We may roll all the way up and think about bringing the legs together so that we can find our way onto back body. So we might roll down slowly for a little more core work. Maybe the back doesn't appreciate that. And we just come down to that half Shavasana position. So this can be as easeful or as effortful as you'd like. Perhaps we find a cactus-ish arm position, fan the toes and curl the tailbone up so the hips are hovering, fanning toes, gradually, slowly rising up, nose tips centered. And then tractioning, lean the left ribs out to the left, roll down one side of the body, find the middle. As you feel ready with fan the toes, release them, curl the tailbone up, reach those knees forward. The ribs may lean to the right, gradually, slowly articulating down that right half, right side of the back. Find the middle. We may heel toe the soles of the feet together. Take the knees wide. Little toe sides of the feet grounded. And we can stay here. We might bend the elbows alongside the ribs, press down into the elbows, the little toe sides of the feet, and hover the hips. Slowly, slowly releasing, lowering all the way down. Let go of that efforting. The outer knees might sink a little closer to the ground. We may be heel toeing feet wider apart, roll the knees in, feet remaining wide. Give yourselves a few moments, perhaps traction the low back. We may rock both knees into the chest, option to hold the knees, option to hold behind the hamstrings. We might grab ankles. We may grab feet, moving into a full happy baby position. Now, the happy baby may rock. We may prefer just to hold still. And perhaps we fold that left heel in closer to the butt cheek as we reach the other leg out long. So the legs are like the short hand and the long hand of an analog clock. And then letting the long leg fold in. The short leg, folded leg becomes the long leg. And we'll gradually bring both legs back in. Land the feet, knees tipping in. Give yourselves a few moments to check in. Is this your most restful position? Would you like to support underneath the knees or underneath the lower legs with a chair seat or a cushion. Perhaps we're sliding the legs long across the ground. And we may give the legs a rock and let them settle. We may open the arms wide, or it may feel more soothing, more restful to have the arms closer to the body or even hands on the body. Inviting the eyes to rest. Remembering that you are welcome to rest here as long as you like. We may be returning movement to toes, bending elbows and mobilizing fingers. Perhaps taking a deep inhale, reach up through the arms, down through the heels, wobble the hips, and exhale, releasing. We may step or slide each foot in, give a rock, tipping to rest on your easiest side. As you feel ready, supporting yourself back to a seat. Perhaps connecting the palms, rubbing the hands together, place a hand on the belly, a hand over the heart. Sealing our practice with sound. Deep inhale through the nose. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this practice. Please let me know if you have any questions.